I don't feel that keeping a certain resource or a person from someone else is going to take away from me. If anything, we're all just going to keep winning because we're just going to keep, evolving kind of our branches of who we know and who we can connect with.
So it's kind of funny because you had asked me, what got you started in this? How did you go about thinking of this? And in all honesty, it sparked from one of your events. It was over at Church and State, and you hosted a pop-up shop with a bunch of vendors. And Lily was one of them from CLE. And as I was making my way around talking to the vendors, I was just like, these people are absolutely amazing. But, is it weird to, ask to, go out for coffee? Is it weird to try to just get to know them more? And I thought maybe. So what better thing to do than to buy a couple microphones, buy a couple cameras, and then just record the conversation that I was having with them. So without further ado, I want to introduce a inspiration for this project by allowing her to introduce herself. So with that, who is Shanna Porter?
It's one of those things that catches you off guard a little bit when people ask who you are. It reminds me of like, what are your hobbies? And all of a sudden your mind goes blank and you're like, I've never liked anything and I've never done anything before. I would say that I feel like I don't keep myself into a certain box of who I am, but I would say in a generic way, I would say that I'm just an entrepreneurial creative where if I see a need or if I see a hole in, the fashion industry, creative industry, I want to fill it. I'm a problem solver. So I feel that I just have like kind of a half business mind, half creative mind. So it kind of takes me down different paths. Whereas, yes, I own a clothing brand. Yes, I'm a fashion personal stylist, but I really wouldn't keep myself within those limits. So I would say I'm a constantly evolving creative.
And I want to add something to that. I want to refer to you as a connector.
I like that. I like that.
Because you have a tremendous ability to network and understand what's important to someone and find a way to help them.
I would agree with that, honestly. And I think that that's one of my main goals. And I would say that that's something that I get so much just amazing happiness from is seeing me know that someone needs a certain person or, is looking to collaborate on a certain type of thing. And if I know someone that would be the perfect person for them to work with, I am such a, I want everyone to succeed. I want to get everyone the best people around them possible. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Cleveland is I think we are so collaborative. We share resources and we share people that we know in different areas, that kind of could be in our same industry or a little bit outside of it. I love that we are very sharing, but I appreciate you saying that because I think a goal of mine is definitely to always connect people to the right people.
Well, and it reminds me of something that Lydia had spoke about on her episode where she said, you lighting someone else's candle does not take away from your flame.
1,000%. I mean, I always say we have enough space, especially in Cleveland, for us all to be successful. We literally have so much opportunity in Cleveland. People want to support people that are doing things that really light them up and really have a passion behind them. So yeah, I don't feel that keeping a certain resource or a person from someone else is going to take away from me. If anything, we're all just going to keep winning because we're just going to keep, evolving kind of our branches of who we know and who we can connect with.
I think you have an ability to pave a path for yourself based off of how resourceful you are. And that is a layer that I want to peel back today because in some cases, I've asked you this question before and it still kind of perplexes me. But some of those questions are like, well, how do you find the spaces? How do you find the vendors? How do you find the sponsors? When you go to one of the events that you put together, you're like, wow, you are a part event planner as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I just did an event. My one friend wanted help with an event, and so I helped him with it. And at the event, one of these vendors that I work with all the time for events said to me like, "Hey, have you ever thought about event planning?" And I was like, "Well, that's what I'm doing."
Right.
It's like I just don't use that title, but it's like that's what I'm doing. And I think where it comes from is I am an only child. That's where the name of my company came from, Only Daughter Society. I think I just had to be resourceful my whole life. It was like no one was going to kind of say, well, this is how I did it. I was the first person to go to college in my family. I was the first person to, start my own business. So I kind of just have always been like that, where I kind of just am going to figure it out for myself. And if I have the end goal vision, like I don't doubt that I'm not going to be able to figure out kind of the rest of the details. I feel like I was doing before I knew the phrase fake it till you make it. I think I was just always doing a little bit of that, where it was like, well, I want to have this super cool event. Maybe I can't afford to, feed everybody and give everyone drinks, but I know people that have money that can do that. And so like, let's bring those people into it, or let me use, like you were bringing up, like resources, or let me use my connections on, a lot of people want to be a part of cool things that are happening. They just don't have the time to plan it. So if you go to a space or a business or a restaurant and you're like, hey, we have this really cool idea for this event, like this vendor would want to be a part of it. We could bring in this like sponsor. A lot of people are willing to say, okay, because you've already taken it 90% of the way. You kind of just need their piece of the puzzle. So I would say that when you're looking at events that I'm doing or different things, it's really me kind of just filling the puzzle pieces together of like, how can I make this happen? And let me just get kind of like creative and scrappy with how we're going to do that.
Yes. I'm glad you brought up puzzle, because I want to use that as an analogy. Okay. Because part of why I wanted to have you here today was to help me understand more of the big puzzle that I'm trying to piece together, to not confine you within those borders, but more so understand with what's in that puzzle for you. Because
Yeah.
I know you have Only Daughter Society, and I don't know to what extent it's a part of or separate based off of the events that you do, because some of the events that I see that you do are seem to be branded as Only Daughter events, and then some are with Only Daughter Society like sponsoring them, and then like your stylist stuff. So like, can you paint more of a picture in regards to what Shanna's puzzle looks like once you start to put it together?
Yeah, the reason I think I try to just keep that consistent branding with anything that I do is I know that as someone that follows a lot of people, or even as a consumer of other people's businesses, like the less kind of confusion that we can give people and like kind of give one destination for things, I try to keep it under one umbrella just so that people kind of, I literally always laugh about, I feel like I'm constantly like, say, posting about an event, and then like one of my close friends will be like, when are you going to have another event? And I'm like, I've literally posted about it like 20 times. Like I thought everyone was literally like muting me, unfollowing me, because they were like, we know you're having that event on that day. And so I think rather than create a brand around events, create a brand around my styling, I just wanted to keep it all under one umbrella of like, let me just know that kind of whatever I'm a part of is going to be bringing a level of, I don't want to use the word like quality, but it's going to be something that they can expect based on if they went to one of my events and it was really just for like the clothing brand or the boutique. They know that if they're coming to a party and say it's more just for like a holiday event, or I'm having a bunch of different vendors, they still can expect a certain level of like quality of that event. And I think that's where I just want to keep it all under one kind of umbrella, or like pieces of the puzzle, is because I just think it makes it easier for people to find me, first of all. And then second of all, it then kind of gets them to my page to see like, oh, and then she also does do personal styling, or, oh, you also can like order like custom stuff for me. Like it kind of gets people to see things that they maybe wouldn't have even asked about if I say had a specific page for events, if that makes sense. Like, so I
Totally.
think I try to just keep it under one umbrella. Maybe one day it'll expand into other things. But as of right now, I think I just am trying to keep it easy for people to find me.
Yeah. So you have your boutique.
Yes.
And then you have the, I guess that's kind of what I want more clarification on is like the events that you host.
Yeah.
Tell me more about like the purpose or the mission of those.
Yeah, I think that when I first started my boutique, I really was doing a lot of pop-ups. So like one of the first pop-ups I ever did was at Manifest in Van Aken, the nail salon. Like shout out to them for like taking a chance on me. But I kind of was looking for this kind of level of events that I had been to in other cities, or like, in past jobs. And I was like, I know that we're doing events for holidays in Cleveland. I know that we're doing, like shopping events, but I felt like there was a need for a certain level or a certain curation of events. Like, I thought like in the past, like Cleveland Flea did a really great job of like having a bunch of different like small businesses and creatives together. And there was really no like limitations on what people would be there. I think old school kind of thoughts of events, it's kind of like, okay, you're going to have food and you're going to have drinks and it's going to be at this place. And then that's the only thing that you're going to do there. I think my goal behind my events is I'm hoping that you meet a small business or you meet a creative person that either you're going to shop with or you're going to work with. And then secondly, I also really want people to come to these events and feel like, okay, this is easy. Like if she's putting together an event, I know that we're gonna have like good music, we're gonna have good drinks. There's gonna be, it's gonna be a cool venue or it's gonna be whatever. I'm trying to bring quality to people's time because I know like you can only go out to dinner and grab drinks with your friends so many times. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like you go through the rotation of all the places that you love, and as much as like that's fun, it's like sometimes you want to switch it up. It's so if you know that you can say to your girlfriend like, hey, like I see, Shauna's putting on this event, like I went to the one that she did last time, like it was cool. Like even if we stop on the way to dinner or we stop on the way to drinks, like I'm just trying to bring something different to Cleveland and to my followers. Yeah.
And I can 100% tell you that you are able to cultivate an environment that's welcoming because, like I said, that first one that I went to was one that I took my brother to. That was at the Church and State. And then following that one, you collaborated with Contrast High, where they did the event over at their place right across from the intro. And then I just got done going to the one in which you now have your physical pop-up shop for the time being, right next to Cure. And I was just, every single time that I go there, there are amazing people there. Some that are vendors, some that are business owners, and then some that are just there for a good time. And every time I go there, I wind up meeting someone who's just like, high on life, for lack of a better words, because they have enjoyed their experience with you, with those that you've invited. And it's almost in some cases a little bit of a safe space once you go there and are like, oh, I'm going there not to, go crazy, but just to be comfortable and have a good time.
Yeah, I think that that's really important to me. Truly, when I have events, I know that obviously it's like business is not personal. I truly feel like every single time that people come to my events, it's like they came to my like 8th grade birthday party. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are here. Like, I genuinely want people to feel like I see them. I appreciate them being there. Like, as much as it might be in like a big space and there might be like a ton of vendors, I want people to feel like I personally wanted them to be there. Like, I don't want it to be like, oh, I think this person runs this event. We don't really see her. Or, it's like I'm kind of in the background or I have someone else running it. Like, I really want people to feel a personal connection to me and my events. And I think one of the reasons why I kind of have these events with like great positive type of people is because I think that I surround myself with those type of people, even if they are in a totally different industry than me, or they don't have a business at all, or they literally are just like you said, there to just like have a good time. I think you really attract what you put out. And I am so supportive and positive about other people's things that I think I kind of like draw that in like for my events. So I have never had an event where like anyone has like had a bad time or felt like bad when they left. And like, and that's how I want it to be. Like, I want it to be a space where it's like fun and light and nothing serious.
How far along have you been doing this since you started?
I have had my online boutique for a little over 3 years. I celebrated 3 years in April. I have a product development background. So that's where I think a little bit of the kind of project management of events probably comes into play, just because I'm so used to working out like timelines and working backwards and figuring out budgets and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that that helps with the curation of looking at it from a really high level and not getting focused on like, well, I have a clothing boutique and I just am going to keep having clothing events. I think it makes me kind of be able to see holes or market, opportunities. So I feel like I've been doing these events for probably more like 2 years, just because I started when, the lockdown happened with COVID. So we obviously couldn't get together then. So I feel like at least for a couple years now, we've been doing these events and I only see them expanding.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think what's so nice to see about every bit of what you're doing is the fact that they do continue to grow, they do continue to expand, and you continue to build new and new relationships. And I think that's for a magnitude of reasons, but one, it's just because you're so charismatic. Oh my goodness. I mean, gosh, I walked into the last pop-up. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you made it. And I'm like, oh, like you made me feel so good. And then, we talked and we caught up, and then you then introduced me to another person and kind of facilitated that next conversation to me, rather than, it just like fizzling out and me being like, okay, who do I talk to now? Like there are little things like that you probably just do naturally without even thinking about it, where you're just like helping that person feel, once again, comfortable with where they're at.
Yeah, I think I really... that's always been how I've been. I think just my whole life, I've been a very like aware, empathetic person. I want everyone to feel like so welcomed in group settings. Like my worst fear would be like someone came to my event and they didn't find someone to like have a conversation with, because it's like we all at the end of the day have something in common. Like the world is so small, especially in Cleveland. Like you talk to someone for 30 seconds and you're like, oh my God, we know this person, or you went there, I was there. It's so easy to find commonalities with people in Cleveland. And so, yeah, like that is totally my goal, is like I want people to walk away from my events feeling like they met someone new or had a conversation that they felt good about, or they now have someone that they're maybe going to like, catch up with or grab coffee with, or the next time they see them at an event, they can continue like, to build those new relationships. But yeah, I don't think it's anything I'm intentionally doing. I think I like honestly probably couldn't help it if I wanted to.
Yes. So how did you come about being who you are?
Yeah, I think it just stems from, like, again, like I was saying, just kind of growing up like a only child. I think I got to kind of mature maybe quicker than other kids, just because like my mom had me a little bit later, that I felt like I kind of almost skipped being like a immature kid and just jumped right to being like a adult that was just like, oh my God, like what can I do for everybody? And like, oh, you like this? Let me help you with that. Like, I just think I kind of grew up fast in that way. So I think I got to be the way that I am just from, I've always been like very independent, very stubborn. So I think I want to kind of feel like I'm in control of the people that are around me and what I'm doing. And so I think I kind of just got to be that way because I just was kind of just like forging my own path, and that like, how am I going to be around the type of people I want to be around? How am I going to do for work what I want to do? Mm-hmm. And I think I just kind of take that into my own hands just because of just kind of how I grew up.
Yeah. Now, are you from the Cleveland area?
I'm originally from Akron, so not far. But like, I feel like I've been in Cleveland long enough now that I kind of feel like I think of Cleveland and Akron as like equal, like my places. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would have no idea if you weren't from Cleveland, and then you were to tell me that you were.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you've been able to accomplish in the short period of time that you've been doing it. So, do you see yourself continuing to expand upon just the projects that you've already established, or do you see yourself adding on to that?
I think I am like a glutton for punishment. I think I will probably continue to add on more things. I have, I think it's important for everyone to have like big kind of crazy goals for themselves, and like, why not keep thinking of what's next, because it's like, what can that hurt? Like, I think every time I have thought about like, this would be cool to have the next thing, it's like the universe will give you someone that does that thing, or you'll have that opportunity to do that. So I think it's just good to kind of constantly be throwing out new things that you want to be doing. So I definitely think I can see myself evolving and expanding. And I think just the way the world is right now, I think it's probably the smartest place to be is being a little bit flexible, where maybe if you saw yourself for the next few years doing X, Y, or Z, like maybe it's okay that like this part of your business that you didn't think would be like the most successful is like just kind of listen to what's doing well and keep expanding off of that. And I feel like from my perspective, these events I get a lot of positive feedback from. I think whenever I kind of spin off of events, if I'm helping with, other businesses or if I'm helping, with like bigger projects, it seems like I can kind of keep moving off of them because of just kind of doing it on a smaller scale for myself. So I definitely see kind of the events part expanding. I could see myself kind of, like you mentioned, having the temporary store that I have on West 9th. Like, I think this is kind of helping me see, like if I had a physical space in the future, like what would that look like? Because I think I feel like I want to be bringing something new, bringing something different. So I think anytime that I can have an experience, my wheels are kind of turning of how can I expand off of this? Where do I see this going? And I'm also just a very like down to do, like if someone came to me tomorrow with like this crazy idea and they were like, do you want in on this? I would probably be like, yeah. Like if someone's passionate about it and it makes sense to me, why not? Like, why not? Let's do it.
And I think one of the things that I really want to bring to light is the simple fact that is such an amazing perspective to have, because you see so many successful people out there that have only focused on one thing in their life that maybe they've mastered. But it comes to a point where if that doesn't hit at the time in which it needed to take off, then what do they have?
Yes.
And where are they and what can they turn to? Where you have the ability to be multifaceted across every bit of your efforts so that if there's one thing that pulls you a little closer towards a goal that you may achieve, then another one does, well, then you tackle that other one.
Yes.
And you may not disregard the other one that just hadn't been gotten you as close to that, because it just may have also not been the time that needed in order for it to get you to where you wanted to be.
1000%. And I think going through, the, COVID and, just the world, I just feel like hasn't ever been the same since. I think the way that we approach our lives is constantly changing. I mean, I watched people go through periods of time when everyone was stuck at home and all people wanted to do was online shop. So like at that time, I was like very thankful that I had an online store, because if I would have started with a brick and mortar, I would have been like, okay, guess I gotta make an online store. So and then I saw people be like starting to get a little bit nervous of like, is the world ever going to go back to normal? And then that was when people really wanted more experiences. Like people wanted to pay for vacations. People wanted to pay for like, give me something that like I'm going to walk away with an experience. So to your point, I think the reason I try to keep myself so multifaceted, first of all, it keeps things exciting. And second of all, like you said, if the world all of a sudden changed where say our lives changed again like it did in the past, I have different ways to still reach people and different ways to still be working and still stay creative. And it's not pigeonholing myself in one area of, my business, or I only have one outlet of like how to reach people. When I first started, I had a couple like mentors that kind of either had, brands or they were like, mega influencers. And I'll like never forget the one, she had like 1 million followers on Instagram. And she goes, it's so important to, constantly be cross promoting yourself across different social media markets, because she goes, what if Instagram just shut down? And what if like we lost all of the followers information that we had? She's like, you would have to start completely over. She's like, but if you are constantly reminding people on your TikTok or on your YouTube to follow you on Instagram or sign up for my mailing list or, whatever, she's like, you still have a good chunk of those people. You're not starting over. Yeah. And I think that it kind of is a good metaphor also for just different ways that you are utilizing your skills or utilizing your business. It's like, don't have only one way that people are seeing you or getting, interacting with you, because you don't want to start over, once you've already gotten, kind of a way to reach your people or your target audience.
No, that's huge. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people consider, but it's something that you've considered. It's something that you're actively doing. And I'd imagine through this conversation, there are going to be people who say, well, how does she keep track of everything that's going on? So I want to ask you, how do you keep track of everything that's going on?
You know, it's funny. When I first started, I think it was just out of sheer like tenacity and like stubbornness of just like, I am not going to accept, failure or no as an answer. So I'm just going to like do it all. And I am a Virgo, and I feel like a Virgo is a very organized type of structured person. Like, I love a list. I love, an app that helps me see like all the things we need to get done. Like, I love that task management type of stuff. But I feel like, honestly, getting interns. So I get a lot of interns from the Kent State Fashion Program. Bill of William Frederick, he had reached out to me when I first started my business and was like, would you ever be interested in like having interns from Kent? And I was like, there are interns from Kent for school credit. I was like, I will take all of them.
Yes.
Give me all of them. Like,
Yes.
so having the help, when I have interns is great because it really just gives me like more hands, a different perspective. They are essentially coming in at either 10 or 11 years younger than me. It's giving me perspective into kind of the audience that's coming up into buying from me. So I like the injection of newness, just a different perspective. It's like not any, reason that you're doing it on purpose, but I think we can get so used to just kind of being around people that are so similar to you. You're getting the same kind of info all the time or same perspective. And I think with having the interns, that was like a huge help for me with just kind of getting some projects off the ground and also just time. I think with anything, you just start to learn kind of your routine and your process of how did it work in the past? Where did it get to be too much from you? And also like asking help from your friends and family. Like that was one of the toughest things for me when I first started my business was asking for help. Because my whole life I was I got it. I don't need help. I'll help you, but you don't need to help me. So I think definitely just asking for help and, utilizing people when you get them around you that want to work with you and support you.
So if we were to take the Only Daughter Society brand that's here at the top and we were to go towards your boutique arm of this brand, you have your online retail in which people can go online and purchase.
Yeah, so through online, we have the site. You could also like shop through our Instagram, also is like linked to our page. But yeah, so we have a site. We shop across the United States. So yeah, that's how most people find us.
Okay. And through that, what are people purchasing? Is it stuff that you make? Is it repurposed? Or like what are people finding once they go on the website?
Yeah. So I think when I first started my boutique, I was kind of using the model of how I had been working in product development, where it was kind of like work with brands, work with, manufacturers that you trust, get kind of a curated assortment, because I really also wanted to go about it smartly before I really learned who my real customer is. I mean, you can guess when you start your business, but you don't really know until people start like shopping with you. Like once you get through every friend and every person that that's bought from you and you're like, thank you, you're keeping the lights on.
Yes.
But like then you have to realize who actually wants to shop with you. So I think when I first started, I really wanted to kind of work with brands that I liked, I personally would have worn, and kind of curate like a more typical boutique. When you go into a boutique and you see a bunch of different brands, it's like when you go into Nordstrom and there's Levi's, there's, a bunch of different brands, and they're all kind of in one area curated by like a buyer. So I think I was operating more like a buyer when I first started. Now I think I have gotten more confident in what the people that shop with me want. And so that led me to starting my own brand. So it's just called Daughter Cleveland. And so if anything that you guys buy from me that has that brand tag in it, that means that I personally designed it, came up with it, worked with my factory directly to make it. So those are kind of like my idea babies, like come to life.
Yes.
So, but then other than that, I really am trying to really have that be the main source of like what's on my site. I'm going to inject some like newness with different brands, but most of it is going to be my brand. And then when you bring up the repurposing, I personally love vintage. And so I think me kind of curating vintage, kind of upcycling it a little bit, or maybe adding like, a new detail or a little rhinestone, something to it to like make it its own. I feel like anyone that is in the fashion industry, I think we all have a little bit of guilt to be making more in a world where we have so much already. I mean, you go into a mall or you go onto any site and there's so much, just fashion in the world. So I think I'm trying to be, smart with vintage. For instance, for, sporting, for Cleveland sports, I would prefer to get vintage and do something with it because I think it feels personal. It feels one of a kind. You feel like you have a special item. And also you can feel good about that. It's like you took one shirt that would have just sat at a store or got thrown away or, would just be in someone's basement in a box. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we have so much cool stuff. Like that quality of vintage doesn't exist anymore. And it never will, just because of how people buy, people want to shop. I mean, most people, not everyone, but most people want to shop affordably. So we're going to lose a lot of quality with that. So if I can take a really cool vintage bomber that's from, like the 90s and add something to it, it's like you're getting more quality than if I made it today. So I think, if you're going to my site, you're going to see a little bit of newness designed by me. And then you're also going to get some cool kind of vintage curation, upcycled items. Yeah.
Yes. And when we were talking about the brands that you would like introduce and work with in your site, can you explain to me as a guy who doesn't do a lot of online shopping, like what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would mean like, I'm going to use like Revolve as an example. I feel like a lot of people know Revolve. So like you could just type in like skirts. And there's going to be like, 1,000 skirts that come up. And it's going to say like, maybe this one is, one of their, I'm trying to think of like a brand that they have. Like this is like LPA. Okay. So that's like a brand. So Revolve essentially bought from LPA. They said, we probably want all of these items from you and we're going to put it on the site. So essentially when I first started, it was me identifying brands that I really liked their style. It would have been stuff that I would have just probably had a factory make. But it's like, if you're already making it, like, let me just take your brand, put it on my site. So it was using already existing new brands that would come out every season with new stuff and say, I'm going to hand pick from your collection for winter.
Okay.
This jacket, this skirt, this top. And so it would say that their brand. But that was just kind of how I wanted to get off the ground, was like, I can kind of show the difference for my boutique through what I'm curating and what brands I'm carrying before I get to a place that I can have my own label. So that was the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for explaining that to me, because now like that puzzle piece, those puzzle pieces have been put together for me. And I'd imagine that your ability to curate a site based off of your style and what you enjoy and what you believe that your customers and clients enjoy really seamlessly transitions into helping you through your styling business as well.
Definitely. I would definitely say it helps definitely build a trust with people. It's like, if they maybe like the way that I dress, or they can tell that my site has intention behind it, maybe if it's not their personal style, it gives that brand integrity of like, she knows what she's talking about, and like she'll be able to adjust if like, I honestly work with a lot of guys for styling. And so it's like, I can't really pull, maybe vintage, I can't really pull my stuff, for them unless that would be what they were looking for. I really can't pull. So I think more it gives me the kind of background of expertise of like, I'm constantly curating for myself. It's very easy for me to transition to curate to someone that, say, has a totally different style than me, or totally different, look that they want. I can kind of show that it's like, I can do that. Like, we're constantly kind of curating stuff. I can do it for you as well.
Exactly, because I mean, just to reiterate what it is that you said, you can curate a style based off of what you want, which means that you can pretty much curate a style based on what someone else wants.
1,000%. Yeah, I think with my personal styling, that's an area of my business that I think, they do take up a lot of time. So it's like I can't have like a million, personal styling clients. That's definitely for, other people, that is their full-time job. To me, it kind of keeps me interested. It keeps me looking at different brands. I feel like it keeps me on the pulse of seeing what's happening either in different style types or different brands. Like, so I like that area of personal styling. And I also love helping people curate their own personal style because my style isn't going to be everyone's. Like, everyone's personal style is going to be different. The industry they work in, their body types, what they feel comfortable in is going to be different. So I love kind of getting people to a place that they love, like their closet again. And it's not this like daunting place that they're like, I have so many clothes. I hate all of them. I have heard so many times, I don't even know what I have in there, and half of it has tags on it still, and I don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, this is my favorite part, like to kind of get through all of it and get them to the finish line. Yeah.
So if someone were to say, I don't like my closet, anything in it, I wouldn't mind throwing it away and getting all new stuff, what would be your advice on how to tell someone to start?
Yeah. So I would say when it comes to your closet, and I think guys have what I've noticed, this is just from my personal experience, guys have an easier time with saying, hey, this doesn't come easy to me. I'm going to pay someone to do it. I feel like with women, we start to think, well, this isn't like, it doesn't take a special degree. I should be able to know how to dress myself. I should be able to know how to shop. I'm not going to pay someone to do that. Even though we pay someone to do our hair, we pay someone to do our nails, we're paying people to do that. But yet something that doesn't come easy to us with, say, our closet or fashion, we feel like we should just keep struggling through it. And so to that, I would say, first of all, look for someone, even if it's a close friend of yours that is, you love their personal style or they're good at fashion, like just have them come over like one weekend and be like, can you just gut check me on like half of the stuff that I have in here? Like, should I like donate this stuff? Should I sell it? Should I whatever? So I would say just start with, use your gut. And if there is something in your closet that you're keeping because you feel guilty about it, that's not an emotion you should have in your closet, is guilt. Like just get it, like either give it to someone, donate it, sell it, whatever. I would say you probably know the things that you don't want in your closet, and just give yourself like a timeline of like, okay, this season is going to be the first season that I shop with intention. I'm not shopping based on cost. I'm not shopping based on what I've done before in the past, because that obviously wasn't working. So what I always do with my clients is I always say, is there someone that you, either influencer, celebrity, someone, do you love their personal style? Like when you see them on your feed or you see them on, TV, are you like, I like how they dress? And then normally we can kind of break it down of why you like the way that they dress. Yeah. And we can kind of apply it to your own personal style, your budget. It's like, I honestly don't think that fashion needs to be expensive. I think it should just be intentional. If you want to feel good in your closet and you have a certain budget, it's like, well, let's figure out like how we can make the most of that budget. Like I don't need, I think a lot of people get worried when they start to work with a personal stylist, that they get worried that they need to drop like thousands of dollars on new stuff. And it's like, no, like we can be intentional with it. Like, we can, find, certain brands that maybe are a little bit more affordable. And maybe we spend like a lot of money on like a cool jacket for you, or nice shoes that you're going to keep for like years. It's like, we can definitely break down that formula. I would say just start with kind of figuring out what you don't like, and is there someone kind of in your life or in the public eye that you really like their style, and like start from there. It can be daunting if you don't kind of, it's like, I feel like that's with anything in life, you got to kind of break it down into like digestible pieces before you just go all at it.
Well, and I love the way that you explained it, because I think you hit on a huge number of pain points and acknowledged a few concerns and uncovered a few things that people may not necessarily think about for themselves when thinking about what it is that a personal stylist does. I will probably wind up writing you a check for a couple of $1,000 and just say, please just deliver a pallet of clothes to me in 2 weeks' time.
Yes.
Because I'm not even kidding you. Like that's where I am in terms of like the type of client that I am. But then also like I have, like nice Polo Ralph Lauren shirts. That I got like 8 or 9 years ago. And I still have them in my closet and I still wear them. But here's the thing. I don't feel that guilty about those specifically, because I'll also go to like, Macy's or Dillard's or something, and they're still on the rack.
Oh,
And I'm
yes.
like, oh, is that because they haven't updated their styles, or is it because they're timeless? And I don't think that they're necessarily timeless.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make myself feel better about having a 9-year-old shirt.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I also think a lot of people are in certain professions or mindsets that they just don't want to deal with it. Like they just don't want to
Yes.
think about it. They want someone to do it for them.
Yeah.
And that's like one of my favorite places to come in is like where this is something that is going to fall lower in your priority list. And if I can have you feel better when I get when I get selfies out from my personal like styling clients and they're like in the bathroom at dinner and they're like snapping me a selfie and they're like, see, I put it together. Like you said, like I did it, you know what I mean? And they're like so excited and it's not taking away from they're not having to give up something to have to work on their style. It's just being done for them. And to your point about the having things, for like a long time, I do think there are some things that are super classic. And also, I think not every trend is for everyone. Like, there are certain trends that like you should ignore. Like, you know what I mean? Some people that's going to look awesome on them and other people, it's like, you don't need to kind of look like everybody else. I think personal style is that. It's personal. Like it should be based on, does it make sense for your personality, your industry, how you want to present yourself?
Yeah.
And I think that with certain stores, I definitely agree with you. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. I think I think retail right now is suffering and it's not the old school way it used to be where everyone on the weekends was shopping at the mall and like, dropping all of this money. Now everyone is like on Amazon or online and, or going to their more local boutiques or shopping small. So I think they are definitely just kind of cranking out the same thing over and over again because they really don't want to take a risk on doing something different or paying a new designer to come up with a totally different look. They would rather kind of just keep doing what they're doing. So yeah, definitely I think identify, hey, if you're the type of person that like, I don't care that I've had this thing for 10 years. If you still feel good in it and you still find yourself wearing it all the time, like more power to you. You found kind of a classic staple for your closet,
I love that.
Yeah.
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 And I'd imagine that falls in line with the term, or I guess not what we just talked about in terms of finding a staple within your closet, but everything that we talked about before that, fast fashion.
Yes.
I mean, there's was it Shein?
Shein,
yeah. And then what was the other one? Is like Cardi B's, not her
Oh.
brand, but the one that they're paying her boohoo bucks to.
Fashion Nova.
Yes, Fashion Nova.
Yes.
I mean, gosh, I've seen like headlines just talking about how like the amount of like waste that's there just because of the sheer amount of quantity
Yes.
that they push out for it.
1000%. And I think when it comes to fast fashion, I think there is a time and a place for it. But I would encourage people that are maybe mainly shopping on like those type of sites. I would start to look at, yes, you're probably thinking that you're getting such a deal and you're getting this huge, bag of stuff and you're like getting that like dopamine hit of like, I have so many clothes and like, I'm going to finally have something to wear this weekend. Like every time I'm like, I have nothing to wear or whatever. But like, think about how long those pieces stay around and are you wearing them once? Because most likely you're wearing them once and you're washing them and they're falling apart or it was so specific that you're like, I can't wear this like hot pink jumpsuit again. Like people just saw me in it. I can't wear it again. You know what I mean? So I would encourage, don't shop for the kind of hit of like to have a lot of stuff coming in. Look at it more like what am I going to make myself feel good about having? And as much as it feels good instant gratification to get something new in the mail, think about once you kind of are like, oh, I really washed this once and it shrunk, or now it kind of looks like, like tattered, whatever. Think about how that makes you feel about yourself, that you're worthy only of something that you can only wash once and you need to get rid of. It's like, I think what you wear is such a mindset. It really does elevate, I think, how you present yourself. It's like the age-old saying, like, dress for the job you want, not the one you have. And I think even dressing for the type of life you want, not the one you have. And if you want to be maybe more outgoing, or maybe you want to be more someone that identifies you as being, fashionable or, trendy or whatever, it's like, let yourself lean into that new identity because we only have one life. Like, dress how you want, like have fun with fashion. It's not that serious. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We can do what we want, wear what we want. And it reminds me of like when you have like a flu or like a cold and you're in sweats like all week. And the first day that you put on jeans, you're like, I think I feel a little bit better.
Yes.
You know, it's such a mindset what you're wearing.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
I would say, honestly, I get my inspiration from a lot of different, kind of like content creators, a lot of, high fashion brands. I feel like I use them more for kind of the inspiration of like, oh, this seems like this color is really going to be like popular this coming season. Or, oh yeah, we haven't had like for right now, I'm honestly loving how much of kind of 90s accessories are coming back. Like I love seeing girls in like tights and like cute socks and like gloves and headbands, and it's like it's giving Clueless, and it's like my favorite movie, so I'm like loving it. And I think I am getting inspiration from definitely, obviously the content you follow, you're kind of getting, I'm constantly, and I would say this is another tip, like if you're looking to kind of change your fashion or get some inspo, is like when you're scrolling on Instagram, if you see like someone post something and you really like that outfit, create like a shared collection of just like outfit inspo. So then the next time that you're like, okay, let me not order something, let me like go and look at the things I've saved. And most of the time when you look at it, you're like, oh, all they did was just wear a blazer with a skirt with booties. I have all those things. Like I can do that. Like it was literally just that it was shot on a professional camera. They were probably on the streets of Paris. Yes. And that's why you were like, couldn't be me. You know what I mean? Like, so I think a lot of it's just kind of outfit building. So if you can kind of just save inspiration and do things like that, I think you would find that you have a lot more in your closet than you think. And yeah, I think from inspiration, I think I get inspiration also from just like other fashion people that are around me. Like I can take away from them like, oh, I would have never thought to like wear that with that or whatever, and you kind of make it your own. But I think, yeah, just getting influence from all around you, then you can kind of make your own stamp to it.
It amazes me for you to be able to talk in the way that you are about fashion. And I mean this no slight to like Cleveland, but for the fact that you have been in Cleveland for as long as you have been, because it almost seems like this is a conversation in which I'd usually be having with someone from like New York or California. Have you thought about either leaving to go to any one of those places or just a simple fact of staying here?
So it's funny, and I also kind of encourage people to think the same way if people are kind of destination focused. So when I went to school for fashion, and I had no. So I actually went to Ohio State. Fun fact: thought I was going to be a veterinarian.
Oh,
what a 180! That was like I never got a laugh when people were like, "And what were you just in?" And I was like, pre-vet," and they were like, "And now we're in textile 101." So definitely, moral of that story: pivot. Yeah. Who cares how long you've gotten, thinking you're going to do one thing? If it doesn't like bring you joy, if you're not passionate about it, change. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I feel like when I did my internship when I was at Ohio State, I could go either to New York or LA, and I ended up picking LA because I just honestly, I'm like, I like warm weather. I like sunshine. I am so sensitive to like when we get into these winter months, I'm like, no, I need like all the sunshine, all the happiness. So I picked LA, and I just literally ate up every single thing about LA. I was like, I love the air. I love the food. It was like the drinks are better. Yeah. The people are cool. Like, it was just like, I literally became like so enmeshed in it. Like, it was like, that was where I was going to be going. Like, it was almost like, okay, let me finish this last semester and I'm turning right back around and I'm going right back to LA. Like it was like when you go to summer camp when you're a kid and you literally have to tell everyone how cool summer camp is and how like you don't even watch TV anymore and like, you know what I mean? Like you just totally adapted to all of the behaviors there. That was me talking to people about LA. And so I kind of finished out my, degree, and then I had gotten a job and I was like, let me get a job in Ohio first. Let me like kind of get some experience, make some money before I just be the typical starving artist in LA, that's like 10 girls to an apartment trying to make it work. You know what I mean? Whatever. So I was like, let me just kind of get some experience under my belt and then I can always go back. It's always going to be there for me. And I think what I found was like, I was looking for kind of level of I don't know, like I was looking for something in LA to give me that I needed to find in myself wherever I was. And I think I have found that in Cleveland. And I am such a, like we were talking about at the beginning, like an empathetic, typical Midwest girl that I want everyone to feel like so welcome and I want everyone to be so kind and whatever, that I really do like that about Cleveland is we really are so genuinely kind to each other that when I think about those other bigger cities, like, yeah, there would be more opportunity, but I would be one kind of medium fish in a huge pond, whereas in Cleveland, we can kind of be medium fish and we're like running the pond.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so I think I kind of appreciate that about Cleveland. And honestly, I think Cleveland gets, a lot of hate from other cities of just like, why would you want to live in Cleveland? Like, I get that all the time. Like, why don't you live in LA? You love fashion, whatever. We have a lot of fashionable people in Cleveland. We have a lot of creative people in Cleveland, a lot of people that have their own personal style. So I think it's like, if you look for it, it's here. I constantly get kind of re-impressed with the amount of creative, influential people that are in Cleveland and kind of paving their own way. And I honestly think that Cleveland is a city that I can see us continuing to kind of be more of the mecca for, kind of like, I like to think of Cleveland as like a little Russian doll of, Chicago, New York, where it's kind of like, okay, New York's the big, like the mecca. And then it's like Chicago's like a baby version of New York. And then it's like Cleveland's a baby version of Chicago. I feel like, we'll like get there. I just think that if you are a creative person or you're a fashionable person, you will find your people here. As much as it doesn't seem like it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something else that I talked to Lydia about. And I think it was something I even touched on you about at one of your pop-up events. And I was like, even the support that I've gotten from doing this podcast is so much more than I could have ever even thought. But I didn't ask before this because I didn't have this to know for myself what people would or wouldn't help with.
Yes.
And I mean, the amount of support that I've got is something that I'll be forever grateful for. Like, thank you for coming on this. Thank you for hosting all the events that you have that have, essentially brought us to this point, because now I know so much more about you. I know so much more about your brand. I know so much more about what you hope to accomplish, and you will absolutely achieve every bit of what you will just based off of your sheer tenacity to accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself.
No, I appreciate you saying that. And I think the same of you. I think we have to kind of like risk it on ourselves. And you are like, no one wakes up and they're an expert in an industry that they want to break into. It's like you didn't like just have podcasting or, talking to people, meeting people, networking with people. That was something that you wanted to do. And so you gave yourself the kind of stepping stone to do that. And I agree. Like, I think that until you ask, you don't realize how many people are so willing to help. Like, it's literally as easy as just like, if you don't ask, you won't know. So just ask. And honestly, and I'll even take it one step further. If you hear no, you're just talking to the wrong person. So like, just keep asking, keep throwing it out there, because you'll attract the right people. You might get like dead set on like, oh, I really want to work with this person, or, this person would be super, cool to like work with or have on. And it's like, it all happens how it's supposed to. It's like the people that like are gonna really be right for you are gonna like vibe with you, and it's gonna be easy. If it's hard, it's just not like, maybe that's not the right time or it's not the right person. So yeah, having the people that I'm sure that have come on and like supported you, I'm sure you're like, oh, this makes sense. This is like for a reason.
Yes.
Like that's what's great about, just kind of it all works out.
It does. It does. And it's a matter of time. It's a matter of passion. It's a matter of energy. And as long as you are doing something that is filling someone else's cup, along with it filling yours, I mean, it's destined to work out.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of time.
For sure. No, definitely.
I think what's been amazing to understand from the conversation that we've had today is every bit of what it is that you go through to accomplish what it is that you already have. And I'm glad to have shined at least a little bit of light on that. I know that there's so much more that goes into it, but it's been so nice to hear you speak with such passion in regard to something that you are great at that is impacting people's lives in a positive way.
No, I appreciate it so much. And honestly, I love having these conversations with you when it's not even this formal. So it's great that we get to do it like this because, yeah, like you said, it's until you kind of start peeling back the layers and talking more to people, you really won't know all of that, you can both win-win on things about. So, no, I appreciate you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because you've been smiling this whole time. So aside from this conversation,
Yes.
what makes Shanna smile?
I know I am a smiley person. I would say what makes me smile is really helping people to feel that they can either be their authentic self with me, or I can really kind of help set an example or kind of lead them towards being themselves. Like I want to have all of my how I got to where I am. I would love that to be kind of a indication to people of like, oh yeah, like she kind of like pivoted and did this thing that she didn't know she could do, or like she did this event and she didn't know anyone that was going to be there. Like I could do that too. And so I think I love seeing people really find their passions and find the right people, and they have like, their people around them. Like that is like to me like the greatest thing in the world, to see people being successful, like you with your podcast, like being successful doing the thing that they are just sheerly passionate about. Like that to me is like the greatest thing in the world, because what's better than literally having success off of something that you want to be doing?
Oh,
like it's the dream.
it is the dream. There's nothing better.
No.
And that's what's so crazy is you have all these people that say, I wake up every day with a smile on my face looking forward to what it is that I want to do. And I think there are two important things to acknowledge with that. One is that they're doing something that they're good at.
Yes.
And two, they are doing something that they're passionate about. And when those two things align, like you said, it's the dream.
Yes, that's what I hope. I hope for everyone that your passions and your success can align in a sweet spot, that everything you do at some point is going to feel like work, but the goal is to really feel like what you said, waking up every day excited and grateful for what you get to do and how you get to do it and the people you get to be around. Like that's what I hope for everybody.
It's so funny because what winds up happening, or one of my favorite sayings is something I saw on TikTok, and I don't know if it's like legit, I don't know if it's popular, I don't know where it came from, but the guy who voiced it over was talking about how like it's not, you don't work a day in your life if you love what you do, it's that you'll work harder than anyone to do what it is that you love to do.
Yes.
And I was like, no, that's it.
1,000%.
Like that's it.
1,000%.
Like, it's like, hey, it is hard work editing all of these things, editing the whole podcast episode, doing the clips, but I love it. I love it. So I'm going to work hard to accomplish that within the time frame that I give myself for what I think that I can do, because that's something that makes me smile. That also, and I think part of what makes it smile is the fact that it makes other people smile when they see the products of what's being produced.
Yes. I completely agree with you. I think, it's that feeling of when you hit your sweet spot of you're doing something that you really enjoy, you'll do anything to not have it be taken away from you. And I think that's why you work harder. It's like, you're literally going to work harder than anyone when it's something that you personally are like, I literally look forward to doing this. Like, I don't want this to get taken away from me, because no one's around when you're like editing. It's like no one's around when I'm like carrying like this heavy box of coats like into, you know what I mean? And I'm like sweating, like running into every door, you know what I mean? Like, but we do that because of, like you said, the part when we actually get to like see people get something from what we do, like bring happiness to people, bring kind of a purpose. Like that's why we do it. And so I totally agree with you. You will work the hardest when you kind of hit your sweet spot for sure.
Yes. So if people want to keep up with what it is that you're doing, including both, or actually all of the arms in regards to what it is that you're doing, where can they follow you and where can they find what it is that you've got going on?
Yeah, so I would say easiest place to find us would be on our Instagram. It's at Only Daughter Society. And then I also have my personal account that would be at Shan, SHAN _Jeanette. So that would be more if you want to do personal styling, but just hit me up on the Only Daughter page. I'll see your messages. Make it easy for everyone.
There we go. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. This was great. Thank you.